Excellent. Okay, I think I'm live. Excellent. Okay, guys, just gonna do a little bit of housekeeping. Hello, my name is Will. Welcome to this video. Excuse me. Welcome to this live stream. This should be a little bit of fun today. We're going to be looking at how to design Fluent XAML UI using UWP and C#. Just going to do a little bit of housekeeping off screen. I didn't expect the live stream to go on automatically. YouTube have changed a few things, it seems, for the better, it seems. It's actually a little bit quicker now. Just going to share my link. Let me know if the levels are okay. I had some technical issues just before going live, and I had to reboot my computer. So if for any reason I have to reset the stream, do hang tight, as I won't leave this video hanging. I will update in some way, shape, or form. Hopefully there's not going to be any feedback here. Yeah, a little bit. Okay, this won't take too long. I think I'm off screen anyway. Just double check my OBS session. Excellent. So guys, I'm off screen right now. But what you guys should probably expect, as you can see, the Visual Studio session is up. Excuse me. So that just basically means I'm going to run through things in a kind of a live workshop fashion. I encourage comments if anyone has questions pertaining to the overall theme of this video. Just going to quickly write this post. This won't take too long. Now just quickly put some tags on this. Excellent. Excellent. So I'm just going to make sure let's see what's going on. Okay, I'm still off screen. I got one more little post to do, and then I should be fine. Then we'll kick things off. I do apologize for this slight delay. We're going to be working mainly in XAML. I think the title of this video says something about C# as well, which is obviously the go-to language of the UWP front, as well as C++ as well. You can design UWP apps with C++. It's very interesting stuff. But we're going to be focusing on XAML. Like 99% of this will just be pure XAML. And maybe just for demonstration purposes of what can be achieved for some programming functionality, you might add some C# in there. You know what, I'm just going to quickly edit this. Just about done. Just sharing the link on a couple handles. Oops. Ooh, I messed up. Just quickly change that. Also have a little bit of an agenda there, just so we can kind of keep track of what's going on. All right, I think I'm about ready. So, sweetness. I'm going to be kind of looking this direction because I've got a dual screen, and so I do apologize if it's a little bit interesting. I'm going to kind of be craning my neck. So, where are we? Excellent. Welcome to the channel. Welcome to the stream. My name is Will, as I said. And yeah, let's get straight into things. Let's not really beat around the bush too much. Again, let me know if the levels are fine, if I'm clipping or whatever. I'll be going back and forth between the kind of dashboard of my stream just to kind of check up on things. So let's kick things off with what is Fluent exactly. As you know, on this channel, I primarily focus on C# walkthroughs. So developing using the C# programming language. And so I've been branching off into different kind of realms, sort of pertaining around this overall ecosystem of .NET and C#. And one thing that I would kind of say won't go amiss is the design aspect of applications. And Microsoft have this very neat thing called Fluent. Let's just see if it'll go up on the screen. Yeah, I think I've got it. So this notion of Fluent UI, what is Fluent? What is Fluent? So basically, let's just kind of read straight off this thing. A collection of UX frameworks, or user experience frameworks, for creating beautiful cross-platform apps that share code, design, and interaction behavior. So what Microsoft have really been pushing for these days is this whole notion of a unified platform where you have, in essence, one core framework which powers different fronts on different platforms. Hence, that I believe that's kind of the core behind the UWP. The Universal Windows Platform was meant to be this kind of unified platform whereby you write one central code base, and that can be then be if I can find the right word, the overarching platform for, say, Xbox, PC, Windows Mobile, without having to rewrite, in essence, the code base. Again, for those particular bespoke platforms, those discrete platforms, rather. So when we look at this notion of Fluent, it's actually embedded into XAML itself, into the core framework. And as far as we're going to be concerned with, what Fluent allows us to do is to... Oh, I think I'm clipping there with the audio. Sorry about that. Fluent allows us to create compelling and responsive user interfaces via these controls that have Fluent embedded inside of them. So let me give an example. Let's say we have this browser window. As you can see, it's fairly responsive. I can resize the window. And as you can see, the formatting and the overall presentation of the browser sort of retains its form with the idea of consistency in mind. So we can implement this within our applications, especially with focus to UWP. So the thing is, if you are a developer, a .NET developer, and you've used WinForms and WPF, you would have noticed that in order to deal with scaling issues, resizing windows and different varying resolutions is something that the developer had to sort of include themselves. Especially if you wanted a particular kind of responsiveness. The benefits of Fluent design is that it takes away the concern we have to a certain capacity to make our applications responsive, because it's already embedded into the front-end framework. And I'm going to demonstrate that for you. Now, I am running on one of my PCs, I've got like a laptop and a PC. However, I can't guarantee that it will be 100% on point. Once again, I do disclaim. Let me just quickly check what's going on there. I've just got off screen some of my markup for a different user interface for a different application, which I'm going to just basically copy and paste into this session. But I've lost my trail of thought. I was saying something beforehand, but so let's just skip right ahead. So yeah, I do apologize in advance. That's what I was gonna say. If there's any slowdowns, if there's any shutdowns, if there's any lag, I'm gonna try and do things ahead of time, keeping it as fast as possible. So anyway, what I will do, I'll go ahead and paste my markup straight into my XAML, which I've already done. It's just taken a while because my computer is not the fastest, but it does the job. Now, if I haven't made any errors, hopefully what we should see on the left-hand side. Here we go. So this is a fun little user interface that I was messing around with. And as you can see, I just noticed that it's clipping on the side here. So I'm just going to quickly adjust the screen. Let's see. Excuse me. Just so we can have a little look at the markup. I'm going to avoid deploying the app as much as possible because that takes a lot of time and resources on my computer. So I'll probably at the very end of the stream, when we want to look at the finished result. But for now, I really want to draw your attention to the XAML markup, which is what we're going to walk through. Hopefully you'll gain some value, if not entertainment value, from this particular stream. as we're going to be diving into the code. Hopefully you might be learning a thing or two that you may not have known that can kind of give us a little bit of a leverage when we're creating our UI. So have a look at this. We have here some kind of placeholder for a kind of a job listing style user interface. I'm going to try and deploy this. Hopefully it will load on time. So I'm going to click it now, just so I can demonstrate the responsiveness of the design. So while that's happening, I'm literally hoping that nothing crashes. Just going to quickly check my session. I have to kind of tilt a little bit. I'm still online, that's fine. So I'll walk you through, as this is loading now, I'll walk you through what's going on here. So I am using, as you can see, hopefully, a view box control, and I'm going to home in on this properly. And the view box is a control that has Fluent embedded inside of it, which essentially allows you to put any kind of child control within it, but it can only hold one child element. And we're going to kind of dive into the complexities and how to overcome that limitation. I'm literally just buying time for my application to run. And you know what? Let's go through the agenda while we're waiting. So the example, as you see, is kind of a black and white UI that I want to go and dive into, because I won't profess to be any kind of expert when it comes to design. Let's move this out the way a little bit. I don't profess to be any kind of expert when it comes to design. However, when developing some of my more recent UWP applications, I shipped an application, the Post Scheduler Lite, which has actually been delisted due to some logistical operative reasons of the overarching business I was running at the time. But anyway, in that particular application, if you go back to the history of my channel, you'll see some footage of that particular application. I stuck with a black and white user interface because it was the easiest way I could find to design without having to necessarily complicate things. Okay, so some of my XAML is wrong here. I'm just going to quickly have a look at what's gone wrong. I think I have some events hooked to these controls in the application that I just copied and pasted this from. And obviously I haven't set up any C# logic, so I'm just going to delete those events if that's the case. I have to go to line 50, and of course there's a button there, or text box, or it's probably referring to the button. The property view model was not found in the main page, the binding path for view model. Okay, let's have a look at that. Oh, that's fascinating. I didn't even know I had the binding for the text there. So yeah, I just literally plopped the XAML, but I had some binding that was present there. So I'm obviously, this is a new session, so there's no binding implemented here. So I'm just going to quickly rectify that. And I think that's the only error there. Hopefully there's no more click. I have these click events, which is kind of worrying me. But let's just go ahead and build that again and see what happens. Just so I can, with a little bit more clarity, just show you guys what's going on. Let's go through the agenda while we wait for Visual Studio to load. So what are Fluent controls? We kind of went through that. And obviously, I wrote here a chat application UI. So we're going to be building a sort of a chat application UI. However, I'm going to really simplify things. So I'm not going to go in and make like a whole complete app. Okay, I know what's going on here. Getting some errors. Let me just get rid of these click events. Apologies for this. I should have skimmed through my markup just to make sure everything is fine. So basically, oops, let me just get out of this. From the markup I copied and pasted from my other project has button click events, which I don't have present here. So I'm just going to get rid of them. There's one here. See if I can find all the culprits quickly. I would recommend as well, just as a little heads up, working in as much as possible away from, and there's lots of buttons here as well, but not all of them have events. Working away from the toolbox per se, like with the whole drag and drop notion of using the design view, and working straight out of the markup. I just find it's a bit better. I'm just surprised at this. Okay, I know what's going on, so let me check it out. Just zoom out a little bit to make it easier for me. I'm just going to check through my markup. Okay, there's a few view boxes that I'm not actually using here. So this one's the visible one that we can see. So I'm going to delete this one for now for this example because I don't need this view box. I only need one. I have multiple view boxes. And I have another view box here. I'm not sure if I'm using it. Main view box 2 collapsed, so I'm not using that. So that's not what we're concerned with. So I'll get rid of that. What else is here? Main view box 2. I think I just broke the nesting. Let me just double check that. Card view box. Side menu, I don't need this. Card view, I don't need that one. There's another view box I'm not using. And there's this view box. Just make sure I've done this consistently. If not, I'll just quickly undo and just rectify my mistakes. Okay, just a bit of nesting issues I have to just iron out. I have another view box I'm not using, so I should have really checked my markup. I actually thought I copied and pasted from a particular application. It turns out I was a little bit surprised. You might have seen my reaction when I pasted this and it came up on the UI. I actually pasted the wrong markup, but we can work with this. It actually looks quite fine. Hard view. I'll keep this here. Okay, hopefully this will just eliminate all the errors. And I'll just get rid of this because we don't need click events. I'm not dealing with logic. Outside of the markup. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and try and build this. Hopefully we don't have any functional errors. So again, just as that's loading, hopefully if there's no errors and it will come up, then yeah. So we're going to go through grids, we're going to go through view boxes. The chat application is going to be very simplistic. So I'm just thinking having, excuse me, a stack panel and with like contact lists, like basically all your contacts in the stack panel, inside a scroll viewer, and obviously contained within view boxes. A view box and a main overarching grid. So this is just really for demonstration purposes. I'm not trying to make a fully fledged Telegram clone or WhatsApp in this particular video, although it might be quite a fun one just to kind of play around in another subsequent video. I think the errors have all been rectified. I'm seeing some shifting around on my screen, so hopefully the application will come up. Yep, and I can show you guys the responsiveness and we can just dive straight into this, man. I think I've wasted enough time. Let's get into the meat and potato of things as soon as my application fires up, most hopefully. And at the bottom here of my agenda, I've just got my LinkedIn and my developer hub, which is a LinkedIn group, an open LinkedIn group for those of us who want to share ideas and tips and tricks in terms of development, primarily for C#.NET, but not limited to. And yeah, my UWP application is loaded up. As you can see, we have here this kind of placeholdery kind of example sample. It's nothing professional. I'm not going to say it's professional by any stretch of the imagination. And let's just try and resize and see what happens. As you can see, it retains its form for the most part, should I say. I can resize, I can maximize, I can minimize. I could even snap the page so it goes halfway, but I'm not going to do that because it's going to just take a little bit of time. And as you can see, I have a scroll bar over here. I have a button, which I'm not going to click because I did take away the logic behind it, but just in case. And I have another button here, and I have a scroll viewer. That, in essence, is this kind of application of Fluent design. I just demonstrated the responsiveness of the front end, the resizability, and how everything more or less retains its form when resized, when the resolution changes. So I'm going to cross this out for now, and this is all primarily done in the XAML. let's go ahead and have some fun. What I'm going to do, hopefully this won't take too long. I just clicked something. I think I did something. I don't know what I clicked. Anyway, let's just put that out of the way then. What I'm going to do is literally delete everything. Oh, that's just a designer. Okay. Except for the overarching grid. And we're going to start from scratch. So you guys can all follow along with what I'm doing. And on my design view, we should just see an empty canvas, an empty space. Try to zoom in out. Ah, here we go. Excellent. Now, again, let's hope this is smooth sailing for the most part. So what I'm going to do, I have a grid. I'm going to go ahead and bring up a view box. No, I'm getting errors for. It's a bit strange, but it's probably just like some stale information there. I think it'll be fine. Anyway, let's give this view box a name. So we're going to go ahead, x:\name. Let's just call it main VB, view box. Just keep things really, really quick. We'll give the grid a name, x:\name. And I'll call this main grid. Now, I do have some reference footage. Let me just double check my analytics. Oops, sorry about that, guys. When I say analytics, I mean my YouTube dashboard to see if there's anything going on there, or rather my OBS. I'm going to quickly just check the live stream, see if there's anything I need to take note of. I have some reference, a reference image of how I want this to kind of look at the end. Again, by no stretch of the imagination is this going to be professional, but it should be, for the sake of demonstration, enough. Let's see if I can get my reference off screen. There we go. So I want a main view box. Now, as I said earlier, view boxes only contain one children element. So if I go ahead and place, say, a stack panel, like so, and let's say I try to implement another stack panel within my view box, you notice we have an error. And if I just highlight the error, it says the property child is set more than once. So what we have to do is just make sure that we can, we have to basically circumvent this limitation. And how I like to do this, there's probably multiple ways of doing this. In the view box, I like to place another grid. And I'll call this, I'll say x:\name. I'll say subgrid as the name. And let's expand this so we can put some children in the grid. And you can already probably see what's going on here. I'm going to put some children elements in this grid. And because grids can support multiple children elements, then you can add one grid with multiple children within that grid, within the view box that can only hold one child element, which is the grid. So therefore, we circumvent the initial limitation there. So what am I going to do here? Let's start with a stack panel. And this is going to be a very simplified, I wouldn't even call it a chat application. It's just going to be some controls. Let's say main stack panel. Just zoom in on the design view. Let's give this stack panel some dimensions. Say like 200 height, width, 100 width. That doesn't look too bad, I'd say. Okay. So I'll put that to the side. I know it's a little bit hard to follow through the XAML. There's limited space here. So I'm just going to highlight that so we know where we are. And what am I going to do? So the grid, I'm going to give the grid some dimensions so we can have a little bit more context. 800 width, I think it's like 1,000. I should set it at something like that. Is it 1,200? See, yeah, make it just about full screen. Excellent. So my main stack panel, let's see if I have the freedom to drag this thing around. Yep. So it's okay to kind of like drag items that you've already invoked via the markup. I think that's completely fine. Even drag and drop is fine. I just find it easier to use the markup initially. I'll just resize my stack panel. And then let's go ahead and now, as you can see, this stack panel is the closing tag is this kind of / triangle parenthesis. Excuse me. We're going to go ahead and actually opt for the full expanded closing version. So we're going to say stack panel like this. And just by expanding the stack panel tag, it just means we can add children elements. So I'm going to go ahead and add a button. May not give a name to this button. I'm going to use the shorthand version to close this tag because we're not going to really expand it. I'm going to say, actually, I've already gone ahead and written name. So name button 1. Let's give this button some dimensions, height, and this is not going to be optimal kind of markup. It's just going to be for the sake of demonstration purposes. Height, let's just say like 40, maybe even more than that, maybe like 80. Width, 120, I think that's fair enough. Just give it a little bit more wiggle space there. Now, what I like to do these days is, on a stylistic front, since we're here, let's just change the color. I'm not feeling that gray. I think it's fill or is it background? Background, I quite like white smoke these days as a color option here. I'll say content. Content can be many numbers of different objects, but in this case, it's going to be text. I'm just going to say placeholder address book name. If I even, I'm just going to correct this. Placeholder address book name 1. Let's go ahead and just make that text a little bit bigger. I'm going to go in the properties view, the property pane, make that like 18. I do not like that font too much. I quite like Banscript. Whoops. Banscript, and I'm going to go bold on that. Sweetness. And you know what? Let me actually bring this down a little bit. And just to finish this off, the button, what I'm going to do is change the foreground in that the text color, I'm going to make it slightly more, let the color of the text sit in the mix. So I'm going to go for like dark gray. Okay, sweet. Oh, I did forget something. So imagine if this is like a address book kind of user interface, really use your imagination. Then we probably want some kind of scrolling functionality. So in that case, what I could do, within the grid, I could say have a scroll viewer, and I'll just expand it to encompass the stack panel itself. And what the markup will do, it will just handle the like the coherence between these two controls, the scroll viewer and the stack panel. Name, I'll say main scroll viewer, give it some dimensions, heights, let's just say like 1,000, for, actually no, say like 800. And then width, 400. Now I'm just gonna adjust this. Now I have to just quickly readjust my stack panel, make sure everything's fine here. Seems to have just gone off on a tangent. Let me just grab this. I think I'm going to place my I'm gonna get rid of this. See what happens. Yeah, so I got rid of the margin property because it was offsetting the positioning of my stack panel. I'm just gonna stretch out my stack panel, which is in my scroll viewer. So if we look at the nesting, we have a main grid with a main view box, and this view box can only hold one child element, which is this grid. But within this grid, we have multiple children objects. We have a scroll viewer, you can see that, and a stack panel. Let's put a light shade of gray here so we can actually see the scroll viewer. So I'm going to go ahead and write background, and I'm going to say, let's see. Let's say white. What color? What shades do we have? What shades of gray do we have? Light slate gray. Probably going to be too dark. Try this. You know what? Let's just keep it transparent. No, let's just keep it white. That's good. I think that's perfect. That's really nice. The scroll view has just gone off axis a little bit, so I'm going to just squish it a little bit. I'll bring this down. There we go. Again, this is just an example. So what I'm going to do, and so because it's an example, what am I going to do? Copy and paste. You know, I'm not making a fully fledged app, or app UI. That might be a good video for another day. Let me go ahead and just rename this button 2, button 3, and button 4. Now just quickly adjust this. Quickly check on my dashboard, see if there's any comments. Okay, that's fine. All right, sweet. Let me go back to what I was doing. All right, so we have this kind of example array of buttons, or not really an array, but like these example buttons within the stack panel. So I'm not going to go ahead and populate the stack panel all the way to the bottom because of the sake of time, but you get the idea. And yeah, let's say, for example, we wanted somewhere to look at our chat history, right? This is just an example. Or we wanted to search. Let's say we wanted to search for contacts within an address book. We need some kind of field for that. So since this view box is kind of encompassing the whole viewport of my application, it makes sense to stick with one view box for now, just so as to not complicate things. So what I'm going to do, within my grid that's within my view box, I'm going to go ahead and create a text box. Don't need to expand it. I'll just leave it at that. I'll give it a name. Main TB text box. It won't have text per se. Goodness me. Yes, dimensions. Height, say like 40. And I will say width. Let's make this kind of stretch across the screen. 1200. So there's my text box. I'm going to place it at the top. Okay, I'm just going to zoom out a little bit so I can see what's going on. And I'll probably just fire this up just so we can kind of keep track of what's happening. This is probably going to be a short demonstration. I'm not too sure what's going on with those errors. They should be resolved, hopefully, when I rebuild this and run it. Because I got rid of all the other view boxes the pertaining logic with those view boxes that I deleted earlier. The logic doesn't exist in this example program, in this example session. Okay, sweetness. So while that goes ahead and builds, let's see now. We're actually getting a little bit more towards the end of the agenda. Using view boxes, other useful controls is more or less the same thing. We've been looking at scroll viewer, using the scroll viewer. Theme, I'm keeping it black and white to keep things really simple, flat UI basically. And let's just wait for this to load. Shouldn't take too long now, hopefully. UWP is just loading up right now. And here we have our view. Let me just quickly change my off screen so I can see what's going on. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to resize this. As you can see, it's squishing. And when I expand it, it kind of stretches out. So it's fairly responsive without any kind of direct intervention from myself as a designer / developer. Fluent is handling the scaling. And if you do come from a WinForms WPF background, you'll know how welcome that is. Full screen. This is a text box. Have some placeholder buttons because it's not populated outside the scope of the scroll viewer. Even though I'm scrolling now, it doesn't do anything, but you can see the scroll bar here as I've highlighted it here. Got these buttons here. This is a text box. And yeah, we're almost towards the end of this kind of short demonstration, this workshop. It's just an intro primer, an intro primer into using these Fluent controls. In subsequent videos, probably go into more depth. So the main thing I just want to draw your attention to is the fact that you can just really play around with this without worrying that the user will break something, because Fluent has your back. So I'll go ahead and cross that out. Okay, I think this might be a good place to kind of wrap things up. In my next video, what I would like to do, I actually have this idea of creating a clone. So using UWP XAML and C# to clone, say, an Instagram UI layout. Let me know if there's something you might want to see, or is there any other layouts you might like to see cloned in XAML? I can see what I can do with that. And if I can just quickly get my browser session up. See if I can find where I am. My computer is a little bit slow in the back end right now, but I'm currently off screen right now. Not going to take too long here. Just going to quickly go to my LinkedIn, which is just loading right now, because I want to draw your attention. This is completely optional, but I think it might be a nice place to just kind of shout my little forum out. If you do have LinkedIn, if you do want to kind of reach out to me, I'm available here on LinkedIn. And let's have a quick look. Where am I? Yeah, that's fine. And this is my developer forum, my developer hub forum. And as you can see, I've actually posted some source code, or a link to some source code, which is for my email automation tutorial. Where is it? So I have my Bitbucket sample source code link there. And it's just a hub for sharing ideas and tips, as I said earlier. So feel free, the link's in the description, and if you're interested in that at all. And with that, I'm just about to wrap up the video. Is there anything else I need to cover? I'm on LinkedIn myself, Teddy-Jimoh. You know, I cover all things on the channel, mainly pertaining to C#.net. And I really do hope you gained a little bit of value in this short primer video. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping things up. Thanks so much if you stuck around. Do leave a comment, like if you want, subscribe if you like, and I bid you a good day. Thank you. Stay safe. Bye-bye.